cash within a couple of weeks. And so we sent over $100 million in the U.S. through that program. In Togo, we did an interesting project also with COVID relief where partnered with a telco and sort of used the data they have on individual transactions and how people use their phone with their consent to predict who might need money. And that goes down to everything about, if it's a prepaid line, what are the increments people are buying minutes in? Do they call somebody and hang up and have them call them back so they pay for the cost of the line? How are they using mobile money? Things like that. And so where are they living? And so you can use that to predict who's vulnerable. And then we sign them up over text and then distributed about over $5 million just sort of directly to their phone. And so it varies a lot. Outside of COVID, when we get to see people face to face, we do a lot of door-to-door work as well, working in poor communities, and then typically trying to sign up everybody in that community to receive cash.
Well, speaking of COVID, it really disrupted so much, even in charity work, and it caused you guys to have to develop some new tech innovations. What did you do to adapt to this?
I think it's a few things. We got to a bit of it where, typically we're going door to door. We're introducing ourselves with, kind of village town hall type meetings. All of that was out of, sort of off the table. And so we had to look at how can we identify people remotely. And so that was through things like partnerships with Propel, partnerships with telcos, partnerships with nonprofits that have lists of, externally validated vulnerable folks. Then there's the whole question of how do you communicate with them without showing up and hanging out in their living room. And so for that, it was a lot of text-based approaches. All of our team basically went from door-to-door field teams to at-home call center teams. And so we did a lot of phone calls as well. And then the big thing, which wasn't something that was new for us, but was critical to being able to work through COVID, was digital payments. And so, for the last decade, we've been once a month pressing a button on a laptop and thousands of people are getting a text saying you've received $400 or $20, something like that. And that remote, scalable digital approach was huge. We didn't have to call everybody together for, distributing bags of food, things like that.
That's awesome. So there are a lot of advantages, right, for decentralized currencies and a lot of stuff going on there to help out the unbanked and the poor. So are you guys doing stuff with DeFi?
Yeah, and we are actively thinking about it. If you think about what works and what doesn't work on our model versus others, and kind of not having middlemen, not having these big institutions in between donors and the poor, DeFi is obviously a great way to work around what is, arguably one of the reasons they're for in the first place is the formalized banking system. And what's really, really interesting to me is, a lot of what we do is what happens when systems fail. Fire, flood, famine, pandemic. Systems go down. Banking systems are one of those systems that go down. And kind of what we need to get money to people on the back of what Joe was just talking about is we need a telecom system and we need a financial system, right? And there are certainly formal, highly regulated versions of those that unfortunately also happen to fail when humanitarian relief is needed. I think the magic for me in kind of bringing all of that together is, informal ad hoc telecom networks, drone networks, things like that, using some kind of decentralized finance program to, create a network to distribute mobile money in times of need, kind of would be the nexus of all those technologies that I think would be really, really exciting. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think all the pieces are in place, but it is a thing that I'm tracking closely and would love to be a part of.
I wonder if you could give us a little perspective on how bad the poverty problem is around the world. Us in the Western world, we've got our first world problems. Oh no, the power went out for a few hours. I wonder if my freezer full of meat, is going to make it. But around the world, they have real problems. Maybe statistics, demographics. What can you toss at us to give us an idea of how bad the problem actually is?
Yeah, and I think I'll start with what it feels like. Take electricity, running water off the table. These are folks who, if they have electricity, it's they bought like a small solar panel to put on their roof and they're charging a phone. and then running water maybe at the kind of nearest market center, but that's if you live in the sort of like better off area. You're typically a subsistence farmer, and so the way you're surviving is growing crops or raising livestock and eating most of those, and then selling some subset for soap and things like that that you can't raise yourself. Most of the people we're getting cash to have homes built out of what we say organic material, so typically like mud, straw, things like that. Which can insulate a home and work pretty well, except straw can leak and things like that. And so a lot of the people we get cash to replace straw roofs with tin ones, as an example. To zoom out a bit, the sort of world considers extreme poverty if you're living on less than $1.90 a day. And there's about 700 million folks living on less than $1.90 a day. And the good thing actually was that over the last decade, that's been going down, that economies have been getting better, people have been developing. But COVID is the first big reversal of that trend, that's sort of multi-decade long trend, where a lot of people who had recently escaped poverty went right back in. As you have the economic shutdowns, as you have new health costs, new kind of logistical concerns to get over, a lot of people who had just scraped their way out were suddenly back under, a couple bucks a day.
That's crazy when you think about that. And then, as you mentioned, that's all over the world. There are people all over the world that are making less than $2 a day. And if you guys are able to help them, like, how are you determining, like, which ones? Because if they don't have a lot of money, then they probably don't have a lot of technology to even be connected to you guys. So is that where you guys are going directly to them? Like, all right, as you mentioned, I'm here in the village. I can see you have a bad roof. Here's some money. Like, how are you determining who gets the $400 per month, who gets the $20 per month, or whatever, whenever you guys are distributing those funds?
Often it's picking regions where we have good data on where the poorest people are in a given country or in the world. And then within those regions, going door to door, and if we get our way, signing everybody up. If we're working with a particular partner on a particular project, maybe it's more limited. We're looking for mothers of young children who have nutrition issues or something like that. But most often we're signing everybody up in a region that we know to be very, very poor. And the neat thing about that is you can have these kind of broader macro effects of the cash transfers as well. That it's not just you got somebody that's some money, they spent it on some stuff they wanted, their life's a bit better, but also that the money circulates in the economy. And so we did a study in Kenya looking at, what are these kind of broad. And unlike in-kind aid, where if you're dropping a bunch of shoes on an area, you might be depressing, and so that I think that effect is pretty neat to see as well.
The website for participate is givedirectly.org, and while we might tell you about IDOs and places to participate for those, we don't always participate in those, but whenever there's an opportunity to make a difference, and we've got somebody on the show, I really like to step in and set the example. So I just donated half an ETH. So this is an opportunity for you guys to go use your crypto. You can use a credit card or PayPal, but I'm like, hey, it's a Bad Crypto Podcast. Let's do crypto, and givedirectly.org is where you can do that. How much will $1,000, what will that take care of? Because that's about what it is right now.
About a year and a half worth of income for a person living below $1.90 a day. Like, my favorite story is one that came out recently in Malawi. Woman up the mountain, motorbike. She was living below $1.90 a day. She was making $15 a day, being the only taxi driver in the village. She increased her quality of life 10 times with $386. So you just did that for 3 people, Joel. Thank you.
Nice. And I'm doing that as well because we like to stay bad over here. So nice. Yeah, you guys are doing some great stuff over there, and we would encourage folks out there that if you've been listening to the show and you've had some sweet crypto gains and you feel like you felt called to help out some others that are maybe less fortunate, these folks over here have delivered 90% of up to $400 million. Like, that's better than you're going to see at pretty much any charity around the world, and this is directly impacting and helping the folks. So give what you can and give freely.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on today, sharing your story with us, and doing good stuff around the world. Givedirectly.org, and please keep up with us and let us know new developments.
Thanks,
Joel,
guys.
Travis, thank you. Yeah.
We'll get on delivering that funds to folks who need it.
And both Travis and I were moved during this interview to lead by example and give ourselves the text IDs for our donations from our wallets to give directly are in the show notes as well, badco.in/530. We encourage you to give generously. These guys are the epitome of do good stuff, and we support their efforts. Ask you to do so as well.
Yeah, I gave $1 more than Joel did just because I'm doing extra good.
Good plus. Thanks for listening. Travis, our next show, our Sunday show, is going to be our John McAfee tribute.
Oh, very nice.
Mm-hmm. So we have not yet recorded that, but we have all the materials prepped for that. So we're probably going to do it this weekend. Maybe we'll do it in person, Trav. Maybe we'll get together at my place or your place and record that show.
Well, you've not been over here in Swam for a couple days. So
a few days. Yeah, thinking about it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you. If you are an NFT fan, put the 13th of July at 10 a.m. on your calendar because the Bro Punks are coming. Our own generative or degenerative NFT series inspired by everybody's favorite Bitcoin bro, Ken Bosak. One of ones, nothing but one of ones. BroPunks.com. Thanks to Sir Lord Travis Wright for an awesome website and the cool work that you're doing. And you guys are going to dig this. We'll catch you on the next episode of the John McAfee tribute episode coming Sunday night. Until then, stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor. The older you get, the more you realize that life is indeed short. While the meme featuring Dwight Schrute says false, it's the history of time. Over the years, John has become a friend of this show and graced us with his time, his thoughts, and his laughter 5 different times. Today, we take a walk down memory lane and reflect on some of